I want to thank you for this opportunity. And yeah, I'm sorry that I cannot be there in Paris right now, but I hope that this works as well. My name is Ole OELERICH. I'm from Münster, Germany, from the University Hospital in Münster. And I was going to tell you something about the temporomandibular dysfunction in Ehlers-Danlos syndromes and possible effects and therapy approaches we are currently trying to work on. I just wanted to start with some basic information. Here again, just my name. I'm a dentist at the Department of Prosthodontics at the University Hospital, and my current research focus is on rare disease with our facial involvement. So this is why I started to work on Ehlers-Danlos syndromes as well. Before I go into my current project, I just want to give you a quick rundown of temporomandibular dysfunctions, because it's a very broad spectrum. The temporomandibular dysfunctions are split up in two main aspects. The first aspect is pain. Pain can arise from the masticatory muscles and from the temporomandibular joints themselves. The other big portion are dysfunctions. Dysfunctions could be movement restrictions, so problems with opening the mouth or lateral movements. You could have disc-related disorders, so in the intra-articular surface, or you could have some problems with the occlusion, so pre-contacts when biting down or sliding obstacles during movement. The temporomandibular joint is a really complex joint, one of the most complex joints in the human body because it's a swivel hinge joint. What does that mean? The joint is not only doing like a rotation movement, it's also doing a rotational movement. This is just a quick schematic view of the temporomandibular joint where you can see the articular neck. You could see that the articular neck with the condyle, which sits on top of the discus, which is fixed to the human skull, to ligaments and the muscle apparatus. And because those are very delicate features, disorders or dysfunctions can arrive. One of the most commonly seen disorder in the temporomandibular joint is disc displacement. When we start here on top, you can see that the discus, which is usually sitting on top of the condyle, reposition itself in front of the discus. So during opening, you hear a loud clicking noise in your joint. So the discus is repositioned on top of the condyle, and then you can move forward again. And during the backwards moving of the jaw, there's another click and another displacement of the discus in front of the condyle, and this is usually just repeating itself. So a lot of people usually are affected by this and have constant clicking noises when opening or closing their mouth. So this is just like quick general overview, so we all know what we're talking about. Now I'm gonna go into detail how are people with EDS affected by temporomandibular joint dysfunctions in general. The main problem is that most of the parts, or nearly all of the parts of the temporomandibular joint, are built up by connective tissue, which is affected in EDS. So we have the ligamentous apparatus, we have the discus itself, and the surrounding tissues, which are all affected, therefore resulting in malfunction, pain, and impairments in movement. And the current literature it's getting there. There's more and more evidence surfacing. For example, the TMD prevalence in studies arises up to 90% of affected persons with EDS. There is a lot of link between TMD and systemic joint hypermobility, but only few studies linking it to EDS, specifically the hypermobile subtype. So there's ongoing research. But if you look at the literature just focusing on hypermobile joints, there is even more evidence that hypermobility has a great impact on dysfunction associated with the temporomandibular joint. This is another study, just to name a few. You see the conclusion that adolescents with general joint hypermobility have a really great risk of developing this disc displacement, especially with reduction, which is the worst part of temporomandibular disc displacement, and can result in decrease of oral health related quality of life, and cause great discomfort. So where are we currently in form of therapy? What are possibilities and what are limits of our current therapy? For this, you have to understand that there are no specific treatment suggested for EDS yet. This is a problem on one side and can be handled on the other, because even though there is no evidence suggesting that some of the therapies work really well, there is, on the other hand, no evidence that supports that the current treatment, which we do in the general population with temporomandibular joint dysfunction, that doesn't work. So that is good. And usually the therapy here in Germany consists of two main aspects. When we look at this stage theme, this is something, I'm sorry, it's in German, but I try to translate a few of these things. Usually we try to stay in the lower minimal invasive aspects. So splint therapy is when you are affected in the joint, one of the most promising things you can do. On the other hand, physical therapy is another great aspect we usually try to incorporate with people affected by temporomandibular joint dysfunction. And the third thing is that possibly you could take some medication just to dull the pain, but in reality, it's more promising to work with the splint therapy and with physiotherapy to try to work on these things. We usually try really low impact therapies first and get more invasive with time, but in most cases, minimal invasive therapies work really well. Splint therapy is one of those things which we try to do in nearly all of our patients with temporomandibular joint dysfunction. The main part of the splint therapy is that we try to position both of the condyles in centric position. Splint therapy is in Germany something which is supported by the government, so people don't have to pay for everything, but these things that make a splint a really good splint and a good working splint, those are currently not supported by the government, so people have to pay extra for this, and this is registration of the upper and lower jaw in centric position, and a face bowl, which is just a dental tool to make those splints even more accurate. On the other hand, we have physical therapy. Physical therapy is not to be understood as manual therapy, so it's not to be understood as simply a massage. It's more of perception training, where patients need to learn controlled range of motion of the lower jaw. They have to learn ideal head, tongue, and the lower jaw position and avoid passive stretching due to the already existing hypermobility due to EDS. And if there's a dislocation of one of those discus or one of the temporomandibular joints, patients should learn to reduce the dislocation themselves. And this is something, for example, at my department, we have a trained physiotherapist who only works on TMD patients, temporomandibular dysfunctions, and those are those things we currently try to work on EDS patients as well. This is something I said earlier, the more invasive therapies, possibly surgical, are absolute exceptions. We usually try in really low invasive scenario with medication therapy only being subscribed by pain therapist. This is something that should always be done by the hands of a specialist. And now I just want to talk about the project we are currently working, or I am currently working at our university hospital with the grant from, with your grant, I want to establish a special consultation for people affected by Ehlers-Danlos syndromes and affected by temporomandibular disorders, with the goals of finding new possible treatment options and reduce the orofacial pain, because we see that the orofacial pain is on great impact on general health-related quality of life and oral health-related quality of life. And we try to establish guidelines in treating EDS-affected patients throughout the whole spectrum. And our intentions, or my intentions of using the grants, is to make this special consultation for EDS patients free of charge, because we are working at the university hospital. Usually, if we offer special consultations like this participants or the patients have to pay to go to such a consultation. And with the grant, we hope to minimize the cost. So every patient who would like to come to our clinic could do this free of cost. And we can provide them with treatments and work on currently 2 different projects where we try to see how much of an impact physical therapy has on temporomandibular joint dysfunctions in EDS persons, especially the hypermobile subtype. And in a currently ongoing study, we try to work with splint therapy as well. It is currently really hard to recruit patients because of very far distances the patients need to travel to come to our hospital. And therefore, we want to provide travel grants for study participations, so we could improve our study, offer more participants to come to our clinic, and work on the studies we're currently conducting. Here again, just quick some of my details. I hope this was a quick understanding of our current ongoing project and how we would like to use the grant. Again, I'm really happy and really pleased for this opportunity. And if there's any questions, I'm definitely here to answer them. Right now, I see one question of if occlusion is treated differently in EDS patients. Currently not, because there's no evidence right now why we should treat this differently. The only thing we really treat different right now is aspects of physiotherapy, because usually in people not affected by joint hypermobility, there's more focus in increasing the mobility of the lower jaw. And this is something we don't want to incorporate in people affected by EDS because of the hypermobility. We want to try to see if limitation of the movement can improve the quality of life and not stretching of the muscles in the lower jaw region. Another question, if anybody can be included in our study. This is currently a problem, because right now only participants from Germany can really take part of this study, because in most cases when we offer physiotherapy, because it's like a strict protocol we try for our study, participants would have to come to our university hospital at least 3 times, which makes it really hard for people from out of our region to come to our hospital. But we're currently working on different projects. We would be able to open to a wider spectrum of people. Another question about manual therapy. The manual therapy or physical therapy is usually the second thing we try in EDS patients. The splint, the dental splint, only for wearing at night, is usually the first thing we prescribe and can help a lot. But the splint for the teeth is not a splint. It has to be really well made, with good focus on the occlusion and on participant-specific parameters, which have to be measured prior to this. But a splint is usually the best thing next to physical therapy that we would suggest. Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm just scrolling through the comments. Botox can work, but we are not currently on the status where we would suggest working with Botox just now, because there's no evidence in supporting Botox in EDS patients in together with temporomandibular joint dysfunctions. So we can't really suggest this right now, but it can definitely help in the regular population. So it should also work in the EDS context, but there's just no evidence supporting this yet. We currently we did not establish partnerships with French hospitals yet. It is currently still a very small ongoing project, which is mostly only my work. So we have a very small group working on this, and it's really hard to organize everything. But in the future, we hope to establish more partnerships with other countries, to maybe establish our physical therapy protocol we're currently working on in other hospitals as well, so more people could be helped. injections in the mandibular articulation. This is something, again, which has been shown in some case reports and is usually really well, or is really usually good option in treating pain in the temporomandibular joints. So if you have a specialist on temporomandibular dysfunctions and they would suggest doing the injections, those could help, but the evidence again is limited in EDS because of that, there's not like the experience is there, and there's people where this can really help, but as the evidence is limited, again, we would not suggest this on a general basis. The bimandibular occlusion splint. Does that mean a splint in both jaws, the upper and the lower jaw? Yes, this is something we usually don't do. We only work in nearly all of our cases, 99% just in the lower jaw, because this is a well-known problem when you open up the jaws too far. So we would only suggest minimal opening with the splint and only in one jaw. And in most cases, at least in our place, this is the lower jaw. Upper jaw can work as well. It's in some cases preference, but usually we only do one jaw and lower jaw. Reduction of movement, yes, this is something, or the reduction of movement is not to be understood as you cannot open, or you're not allowed to open your mouth fully, but you should be able to do this in a controlled manner without dislocation of the discus on both sides. And this can be done with a physiotherapist who does not only focus on traditional opening exercises, but on controlling exercises, which limit movements to a degree where opening can be done without pain and without dislocation. Thank you again. I wish everybody a nice weekend. Bye-bye.